Hi everyone, welcome to my Facebook Live this week. My name's Mandy Witherby and I'm from Mandy's Papercraft Creations and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for being with me today. I nearly said the wrong thing then in my intro, didn't I? Getting my tongue tied already. It's great to have you with me. Thank you so much for joining me today. Whether or not you're watching live, watching the replay, or watching on YouTube later. Now, before I forget, because I often forget to say this, if you are watching on YouTube later, I am recording this live on Facebook. If you would like to follow me on Facebook, all of my social media links are in the description of this video on YouTube. So you can click there and follow all of my all of my social media there. So feel free to do that. If you also are following me, watching on YouTube, feel free to click on subscribe so that you will get notified whenever I upload a new video. In fact, if you click on the little bell icon, you'll definitely get notified. So be sure to do that. So thank you so much for being here. I am just going to bring this up on my iPad while everyone is jumping on. So give me a moment and I'll just do that. Turn my volume down first. You don't need to hear me in stereo. And it's very confusing as well, getting feedback and hearing myself. So we don't want that. Getting tongue-tied enough today as it is. All right. Okay, so I'll just flip this around so that I can see all of the comments. There we go. Great. Okay. Hi, Julie. How are you today? Great to have you with me. Hi, Angela. How are you? Great to have you with me as well. Awesome. So we here in Australia, or at least this part of Australia where I am, we have got a public holiday today. So it is our Labor Day public holiday, or as we more widely know it, our October long weekend. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with my tongue today? I have had a headache, so I'm putting it down to that. Yeah, so October long weekend this weekend, and so today my husband is not working. But he works from home every day anyway, so but yeah, he's doing his own thing today. I've got all the family home today actually, so which seems to be a recurring theme on a Monday now that they're all here. Very soon though, things are going to be opening up here in Sydney, so my kids' shifts at work will be changing again, no doubt. So who knows, because I can never keep up with their shifts. Yeah, it changes all the time. So, well, it usually does change all the time, but during the lockdown period, it was standard. Now it's set to change again, so we'll see. All right, so what's everybody doing today on this beautiful day? We have got a beautiful sunny day here today. There's a light breeze outside I can see just now. I'm not sure if that has picked up this afternoon, but my daughter, I actually haven't popped my head outside today at all. The girls have been looking after our puppy and taking her out for toileting and things, so they said it's very warm outside today. They were maybe going to give her a bath, but now it's just after 4 o'clock today, so I doubt that they're going to do that now today. It's getting a bit late to be washing the puppy, but yeah. So obviously you're here watching me right now, but what else have you been doing this long weekend? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about your weekend. So on Saturday, those of you who follow me would know, and some of you came along, but we were celebrating World Card Making Day, and I had 2 events on Saturday. I had one event in the morning at 10 a.m, which was, both of them were Zoom events actually, and I opened up the invitation to everybody to come along. So we had a few come along, and we had a lovely couple of hours just crafting together, sharing a nice time together. We had some laughs and shared some stories and just general chit chat. I had a really lovely time. I got a few cards made. I was playing with the Expressions in Colour paper pumpkin kit, and I got a few cards made in amongst the chatting, so that was great. And then in the afternoon, I had an event for my team. So we had a very short team meeting first, and then we had a couple of hours of creating together. I kept working on the same kit. Didn't get as many done in the afternoon. I think I was chatting more in the afternoon, but still got a few done. And had a lot of our team members come along, which was fantastic, and everybody made lots and lots of beautiful cards. So it was a really great way to spend a Saturday, card making all day, which was fantastic. Oh, hey Christy, how are you? Great to have you here with us today. Hi Deborah, great to have you here as well. How are you? Yeah, so we had a really lovely day on Saturday. Yesterday, Sundays are usually my day off. Yesterday I spent the day just pottering around doing a few things. I didn't really take the whole day off yesterday because I'd mostly hadn't done much on Saturday because I'd been crafting all day with all my lovely friends and team. So I did do a little bit of work yesterday. So, but that's okay. I had a bit of a sleep in today. So that's all good. So I have got a lovely project for you today. Now I didn't get my notes out today, but as you probably all know, Celebration finished on Thursday. I think it was Thursday, the 30th. Yes, Thursday was the 30th. So Celebration finished on Thursday. I hope you were all able to get some freebies during Celebration, which ran from August to September. So yeah, it was a really fun time, and lots and lots of freebies were had, I know, by lots of people, including myself, which was awesome. I put in a couple more orders on the last day, the very last day, so I'm looking forward to those arriving hopefully this week. With COVID, there is some delays in shipping. I guess I think we all sort of have come to expect that's the case. But it is certainly still the case as well with Stampin' Up as well. So yeah, so there are a few delays. So they might just be taking a few extra days at the moment. But they are still coming. So I've got a few to look forward to, which is awesome. So I'll share some of those new things with you when they come. I did just get a new order. Is it last week before, I think, but we're playing with one of those new products today that I got. So yeah. Hi Renee, how you going? Sorry, I'm just reading comments there. How are you? It's lovely to have you with us today. Oh, Christy's having trouble with the autocorrect. Autocorrect is always an issue, isn't it? We go to type something and it turns out to be something completely different. And do you know what I do? I send it and then I reread it and I think, oh, I should have reread it before I sent it. I do it all the time. I'll just tip that camera down just slightly. There we go. All right. So in terms of Stampin' Up news, I don't think I've got anything to tell you specifically today. Just remember that we have the new kits. We've got the Expression. Oh, I've actually put them away on my shelf. We've got the Expression in Colour Paper Pumpkin kit, which is beautiful. So pretty. And then we've also got the Christmas Whimsy card kit, which is a new addition to our kit collection. And that is a really fun Christmas card kit. I was playing with that one on Thursday morning, on my Thursday morning live at 11 a.m. And we had a blackout. So in the middle of me filming, we had this blackout. All the lights went out, power went out. It stayed out for a couple of hours. So I completed filming, but the quality of the video wasn't very great because of the lighting, and also too it had flicked over to my data roaming on my phone rather than using our Wi-Fi. So I do apologize for that, but we got through it and I got a couple of cards made, so that was all good. It's all about keeping going, isn't it? You just keep going. Oh, you're good, Renee. That's awesome. Great to hear. That's good. Hi Judy, how you going? Oh, you had a 20-minute nana nap that turned into 3 hours. Wow, you must have needed it. You must have been really tired. It's great to have you with us now though. So that's really good. So I've got a new host code as well for October. Those of you that follow me all the time know that every month I have a brand new host code. Now, I had forgotten to print it off before this morning. And so normally I do it from my computer and then I can choose the sizing. But today I had to quickly do it from my iPad right before I went to go live because I realized I hadn't done it. So it's printed in a photo size. So it's going to be pretty big down on my desk today when I tip my camera down. But there's my October host code if you're shopping with me. When you order over $50, I will send you a lovely thank you gift just for thanking you for shopping with me. So be sure to use the host code so that I can send you that thank you gift. That will be great. Usually what I do is I send out all of my customer thank yous within the first 2 weeks of the following month. So anyone that shopped with me during September, you'll be receiving your thank you cards in the mail in the next couple of weeks. Because I was sending out a tutorial for orders that came through in September, I did email those straight away, but your cards will still be coming. So I've still got to prepare those. Hopefully I'll get to that this week. If not this week, it'll be next week. I usually try and get it done in the first 2 weeks of the following month. So that's how I work my thank yous at the moment. So, oh, hey Tina Marie, great to have you here today. How are you? It's a beautiful day out there today. Hope you've been getting some sunshine. I hope you've all been soaking up these sun rays. It's been such a lovely weekend. And we did have a little bit of storms towards the end of last week, as I said, with that storm on Thursday when we had the blackout. And then it cleared up to be a lovely weekend. So, yeah. All right. I don't think there's anything else that I had to tell you about. Oh, only that I always like to tell everybody about my team, my beautiful team. So as I said earlier, we had a lovely afternoon on Saturday for World Card Making Day, and we had a great time together. We have a really beautiful community in our team, and I just wanted to let you know a little bit about that before we get to crafting. So in my team, we have a Facebook group, and we're very active in the Facebook group. Every day there's stuff happening in the Facebook group, and I put up creative challenges every month as well. And this month we're actually talking about things that inspire us, or where does our creative inspiration come from. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that today because I have a little bit of inspiration for my card today, and I'll be explaining that to you as we go along. And we're going to be going back in time. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. We're going to be jumping back in time to 2004. So stay with me and I'll tell you about that. But yeah, we have a great time in our team, and we have a beautiful community there of creative people, and everyone is so beautiful, and some beautiful friendships have been made within the team. So not only that, but of course as Stampin' Up demonstrators, we get an amazing discount from Stampin' Up on all of our products, all of our orders, which is wonderful. Now if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, please feel free to send me a message, and I'd love to give you more information about that. Or you can head over to my blog. There's my blog there, Mandy's Papercraft Creations. My blog was revamped just about a week ago, so it's got a brand new look. But if you click on the join button there, it'll take you through to some more information about joining with Stampin' Up, and you can have a look there. But as soon as you click, it doesn't mean that it's automatically going to join you up, but there'll be some more information there. It'll take you through actually to my Stampin' Up website, and there'll be a bit of information about joining Stampin' Up. But it's only $169, and you get to choose $235 worth of product to put in your starter kit. So it's not a set starter kit. You can choose whatever products you like to put in there, up to the value of $235, but you only pay $169. So really it's like putting in an order. It's just like putting in an ordinary order, except that you're joining up to get the discount. And then from there on you get a minimum 20% discount on all of your Stampin' Up products, and you can build that up to 25% over time if you qualify for that as well. So it's really fantastic, and it's a beautiful community. As I always tell everybody, I have met lovely people both in Australia here and all over the world through Stampin' Up, people that I never would have had the opportunity to meet otherwise, and it's just been an amazing experience. So I have just celebrated my 5-year Stampiversary last month. I joined 5 years ago to get the discount too, when I was stocking up on all of my scrapbooking supplies at the time, and the opportunity was given to me to get more for my dollar and then get the ongoing discount. So of course I snapped that up. I thought that's a great value, so I snapped that up, and the joining offer is the best offer in the whole catalogue. So let me just tell you that. So anytime is a great time to join with Stampin' Up. But if you would like more information about that, I can give you some more information, answer any of your questions. I had lots of questions too, and I'm a question person. I like to know everything. So yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions. So feel free to get in contact with me, and I look forward to hearing from you. All right. Oh, hey, Cameron. Hi, Amanda. Amanda's here too now. Great to see you. How are you today? All right, so I think that's the only things that I had to tell you about today. There's some exciting things coming up, but I can't tell you about them just yet, so you'll have to stay tuned to find out about them. But let me just tip the camera down and we'll get started, and I'm going to take you on a journey back to 2004, and then we're going to create this beautiful card. So let me, oh, Renee asked, do I still scrapbook? Well, I haven't done traditional scrapbooking for many years. However, I do occasionally, and very occasionally at the moment, I do the pocket style scrapbooking or memory keeping. It's using Memories and More cards from Stampin' Up. That's the reason why I joined. Originally when I joined, Stampin' Up had an affiliation. Well, I don't know if you call it an affiliation. I'm not really sure, like a partnership kind of thing with oh, what do you call it? I can't think of the name of it now. Project Life. That's right, Project Life. So they had some Project Life cards and things like that. And when I discovered that, I thought, oh, that's such a quick and easy way of scrapbooking, because I wanted to get back into my scrapbooking, but I knew how long I spend on a layout. Like a double page layout could take me anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. So I wanted a quicker option, and that's why I joined Stampin' Up. Now Stampin' Up has their own type of Project Life type cards, and they're called Memories and More cards, and that's Stampin' Up's own brand. So when I do any memory keeping, I do use those now. I do want to get back to doing traditional scrapbooking. It's all about the timing though. For me, it's time that I don't really have at the moment, but I hope to get back to it at some stage, yeah. And because the other idea I had was to do some scrapbooking classes as well, because I know I can do it. I've taught scrapbooking before in years gone by. I have actually taught scrapbooking as well as card making. So I would like to get back to it, but maybe down the track. Judy said, so I'm going to go to Facebook on my big TV, so I'll leave a comment for today, maybe. Okay. All right, no worries. Sounds all good. Oh, Cameron's trying to talk to me. Oh, hi, Cameron. I hope you're well. Sorry that I can't hear you. All right, so what I'll do is I'll cover up the camera and I'll tip it down onto the desktop, and we'll start our journey back to 2004, and then we'll come back to present time, and I will share with you what I'm going to share with you today. And I've got a really cute project to share with you, so I'll tell you more. Just bear with me for one moment and I will cover up the camera. I'm going to flip that down onto the desk. Now this will just sound a little bit noisy and squeaky and clunky for a minute while I just adjust my stand. So bear with me. The reason I cover up the camera is so that I don't make you all seasick while I do that, because it is a little bit bumpy. There we go. Okay, we'll set up the lights and then I'll just do some little tweaks if I need to. Oh, I got it nice and straight. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, so if you are looking for any of the products that I show you today, or anything else actually, you can go to my online store. Oh, there we go. I'm just going to make this a bit straighter. It was sitting a bit wonky. So you can go to my online store and you can find that through my blog, which is mandyspapercraftcreations.blogspot.com. Up the top there, you'll see a shop button. You can click on there. There's also my host code on my blog as well, over on the right-hand side. And you can also click on the photo there of my host code, and that will take you through to my online store as well. I also do have Stampin' Up website. All of my upcoming classes and events are listed on my website, as well as some projects and things like that. So if you want to go there, have a look there as well. But you'll find lots of creative inspiration in both places, but I've got a lot more things sort of on my blog. Also too, if you haven't subscribed yet to my newsletter, you can do that via my blog as well. There's a button there for my newsletter. Click on that to subscribe, and I can keep you up to date with all the latest Stampin' Up news and my news and upcoming classes and things like that. All right, let me travel you back in time to 2004. Has anybody heard of Ornare? O-R-N-A-R-E. Anybody here with me today heard of Ornare? It's a technique. It's a technique that we don't see very much of these days, and it's a technique that I absolutely loved, which I discovered back in 2004, so many, many years ago. I've actually been doing card making and scrapbooking for 21 years, so I've been doing it a really long time. But yeah, 2004, I discovered Ornare. Now, I have still got my original tool that I used. Ornare is similar to parchment craft. So if anybody has seen parchment craft, where you use a type of parchment paper which is opaque, a little bit like vellum. And you use all different sorts of tools to prick through the cardstock. This is my original one that I used. I didn't do parchment craft, or I think I did one parchment craft, but I pretty much just stuck with Ornare, which is a similar type of thing. We had a paper pattern, and on the paper pattern was a design, and you had all little dots. I meant to pull one out to show you, and I forgot to pull one out. You had all these little dots, and you had to poke all those little dots with a piercing tool. And this is my original one. It's got a very fine tip on it. And this one, that's how old this one is. So this goes right back to, actually probably even before that. This one's probably nearly 20 years old. I've still got this one. I don't use it anymore because now I use my Take Your Pick tool. But I keep this one for special things, and my daughter Amber likes to use this one still to this day. But I have some photos of some of the projects to show you that I did. So actually, before I do that, let me demonstrate to you how you do it. So this is my Stampin' Pierce mat. You do need a foam mat or some sort of mat underneath you. And this is the one I use for, as you can see, I've labeled it, for piercing and shaping. I don't use this for a stamping mat because it's got all the holes and divots in it. Sometimes you don't get a good stamped surface on this side. So you can use one side for stamping and one side for piercing, but I have multiple Stampin' Pierce mats, so this one I keep just for that. So you need a piercing tool, or as I use nowadays, a Take Your Pick tool. Now you'll notice the difference in the point on these two. Okay, you can see that the Take Your Pick tool is much wider than my original tool that I had. However, you don't push it all the way through. And I did a little trial last night, and I actually got a really good result with it. You just push through the very tiny tip of your tool, your piercing tool. So let me grab a scrap of cardstock here. I'll just use this one here and I'll show you. So you would have a design, and so basically what you do is you follow the design around by piercing the tool. Now the patterns that I had, they were pre-printed patterns, so all the little dots were evenly spaced so that you got a nice even design. But basically all you do is you pierce. I'm just going to do it in a straight line. Now this one's getting pretty blunt because it's really old. And these probably won't be evenly spaced because I don't have a pattern to follow. I'm just doing my own thing. All right, and I'm just doing a straight line. Okay. And then what you do is, so you've like depressed or debossed almost into the paper. And when you display your design, you actually flip it over and you display the embossed side, or the embossed side, so the rough finish, so that you can see the design. So you can do the same thing with a take your pick tool, but you just push the tip down, and it is a little, the holes are a little bit bigger, but if you don't push it down too much, you can actually get a similar look. Now I don't know that you're going to be able to see this really well on camera, and because under the lights and everything, but let me bring that over and I'll show you. I'll flip that over. So see how we've now got that raised image there? And of course, the patterns that I used to use, they were really fancy, intricate patterns, really beautiful. And then I would do a paper towel or a stamped image or something like that that I would put in the center. So I have got, so that's the basis of what ornere is. But yeah, if you Google it, you'll probably find patterns that you can find and print off the internet for ornere, and then you can use your stamps to create stamped images to put in the center and things like that, which is what we're going to do today. I'll show you a couple of the cards that I made back in the day. So this is 2004. This is where we're traveling back in time. And this is one of the cards that I made. So if I hold that up to the camera, hopefully you'll be able to see that. So see how I've got that pierced design in the background? That's the ornere. And then I've done a little paper towel scene here with these cute little mice. They're so adorable, aren't they? So that's what the ornere is, that piercing, that paper piercing in the background. I believe that it comes from Holland or the Netherlands. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that that's where it originated. And a lot of the designs that I got back in the day sort of came from there. So that's where it came from. This is another one that I did. So you can see I've got that beautiful design in the background, and then I've done some punch art work there on top of it. So you can do all sorts of things to layer on top of it to make it look beautiful. It looks kind of like a doily, or like a stitched, like the old style stitching that they used to do back in the olden days. Really beautiful. And this is another one I did with another paper towel, and see I've got this sort of swirly filigree design in the background there. All done with my trusty little paper piercing tool. It's time consuming, it is, but it gives such a beautiful effect. Now, we're not going to be doing that as such. We're going to be doing it the cheats way today, because let me show you. Hang on a sec, let me find it. Where have I put it? Where have I put it? I've put it down here and I've put stuff on top of it. Now I can't find it. Where's it gone? Oh, here it is. Okay. Because now, so we're not doing real ornere today. We're cheating. Yes, Julie, you are right. It is similar to an embossing folder that we have, but also too, we now have the Stitched Greenery Die, which is this one here. And this is the one we're going to be using today. It's a similar effect. This one looks more like a stitched line though, rather than the little holes being pierced, but very, very similar. And so when I saw this, I thought, oh, ornere, oh, that's so lovely. And I only just got this last week. So today is the first time that I'm going to be using it. Well, I've made a card in advance to show you, but this is the first time I've used it on this project. So it's called the Stitched Greenery Die. If you want the code for it, I'll give you the code for it now if you like this and you would like to order it. Here's the code. It's 155451. That's 155451, Stitched Greenery Die. And it's one big die and it's quite large, so it fits, if you're doing like a card front, it'll fit both the American size and the Australian English size as well, which is awesome. So it's sort of an oversized one. And yes, Julie's right, we have had some embossing folders that have given a similar look as well. So that's the one we're going to be using today as the basis for our project. But yeah, so all of these ones I created back in 2004. So this is, yeah, I'm really excited when these old techniques or the technique, the look of the technique comes back again. It's very exciting. So let me show you the card that we're going to be making today. It's this one here. Really, really gorgeous. Now, usually with that embossing folder, when people are, sorry, that die, when people use that die, they would probably turn it face down. But I've turned it face up, or the piece that I have die cut, or die, well, it's not really cut, but it's impressed. I've got it face up to give the ornate look. So it's probably hard to see that on camera, but it's actually got the texture side up. So that's the one that we're going to be making today. We are using the Free as a Bird stamp set. So this is from the annual catalogue. This one's been around for a little while, but I thought, you know what, it's going to go beautiful with the, beautifully, I should say, with the Stitched Greenery Die. And I'll show you where to find it in the catalogue. So in the big annual catalogue, if you turn to page 83. 83 is where you'll find the stamp set. Okay, and there's beautiful sentiments in there too. Although I'm making a birthday card today and there's not a birthday sentiment as such in there, so I'm bringing in a different stamp set for the birthday sentiment, but you certainly could use any of these. I'm in need of a few birthday cards, so you'll see that the die is actually there as well. And it tells you a little bit here, or it gives you the information for it here, but it also tells you, you can find it on page 165 with all the other dies. Over on page 82, there is a sample card there. Now the funny thing is, I hadn't actually looked in the catalogue at this sample before I had actually chose that stamp set to use with it. I had already pulled out that stamp set. I'm like, yep. I was designing the card and I thought, oh, I'll just have a look in the catalogue and see what they've done with that stamp set. And I opened it up and lo and behold, they'd actually used that same die. So whether or not it was in my subconscious, if I'd, you know, seen it before or something, I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't where I got the idea from. But anyway, works out well. So that's where you'll find it in the annual catalogue. All right, so we're going to be using Free as a Bird. For the sentiment, I'm just using the Happy Birthday that's in the Timeless Tulips. So these are a couple of stamp sets that have been around for a while, but I thought it's really great to pull out some of your older stamp sets as well. So the Timeless Tulips, I'm going to be using just the Happy Birthday from that one, but I love this stamp set too. I've done a lot with this stamp set in the past as well. As I said, it's been around for a little while, so this one's had some good use, and it has a coordinating punch that goes with this one too. Oh, Tina Marie says she adores this stamp. Awesome. Oh, that's good. All right, so we're going to be using the birds here on the branch for this one. So I've already got that mounted up ready on a block, ready to go. It's a red rubber stamp set. So it's a cling stamp set, and I've put my sticker on the stamp so that it'll attach to the block. Those of you that don't know, I think most of you watching today would know this, but I'll talk about it in case anybody else watches the replay. So when you have the stickers on the block, well, all of our stamps actually now are removable. So they have this sticky surface on one side which makes them adhere to the block, and then you can just take them off and store them in your clear case like that. Okay, which makes really great, it's a really great storage solution because they're really easy to store. It's just like a DVD case size, and they're super easy to store rather than the old woodblock stamps, which I loved my woodblock stamps. I have to say I did love them, but they were a pain to store. They were so big. We also have Photopolymer Stamps, which is what the Timeless Tulips are, and they are a clear stamp, although you'll see some staining on mine here. They're a clear stamp that you can see through, and they're made of a material called photopolymer. So with these, we often put a stamp and pierce mat underneath our surface that we're stamping on, because this will give a bit of cushioning, because these ones are a much firmer stamp, and when you've got that bit of cushioning underneath, it gives you a nicer finish or a nicer stamped image. Okay, but the red rubber stamps, they've already got the foam built into them, so we don't need to use the stamp and pierce mat for those ones. All right, so I'll pop those back in there. Okay, let's get started. So I hope you like the look of this. I'm making some little bluebirds. I looked up on, or actually I have a Pinterest board on Pinterest because I've done a few cards with birds, and so I always was, or had been in the past, looking for different colors of birds that I could create in my project. So I saved some of those photos to a Pinterest board, and so it was good last night because I was able to just call that back up and have a look at the different colored birds. So that's where I've got these colorings from. We've got a bit of sky happening in the background there as well, just to fill in that color. So let me go through the steps with you for this card. So the inks we're going to be using, we're going to be stamping in soft suede, and we're going to be just using the Cinnamon Cider for our sentiment. Now for coloring our birdies and our whole scene really, we are using Stampin Blends today. So I love Stampin Blends. They are an alcohol-based marker, and they give you such a beautiful finish with your projects, and you can blend colors together. You can do light and shade. Now each color comes with a light and a dark color as a combo in the pack. And I don't think I'm using any combos today. I'm using all different colors, but I am blending some of them together a little bit. And then we have a color lifter as well. So if you have any boo-boos that might go outside the line, or you want to lighten something up, then the color lifter is the one that you want to use. I've just got that one set aside just in case I need to use it today. So that's what we're going to be using. We'll pop them over to the side. Okay, and we will get started. So I'll give you all of the measurements of all of the pieces that I'm using in the card today, in case you would like to recreate this as well yourself. So here's all of my pieces. Just double check that I haven't missed any comments. I think I have caught all the comments. If I missed anyone's comment, feel free to repeat yourself and put it in the comments again. Hopefully I'll catch it the second time round. Facebook has changed a few things, so what's actually happening is when I'm watching this back on the replay, the comments used to always stay up all the time, but now they're disappearing after a few seconds, so I've got to keep tapping on the screen to get them to show back up, which is a bit annoying. So hopefully Facebook will fix that. All right, so we have got a base of Night of Navy. Now this is a really simple layout because that beautiful background of the Stitched Greenery Die is just, you know, so gorgeous that you don't need to do too much else with this card. All right, so we've got a piece of Night of Navy, and it's 21 centimeters, which is half a sheet of A4. By 14.85, and we're just going to, we've scored that at 10.5, and we're just going to fold that in half. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder. Oh, that's my yucky one. Let's get a nice one. I'm just going to use my bone folder to burnish that That's what we call burnish along that fold line. I'll do it on both sides. And that just helps that card to sit down a bit better and gives a nice crisp fold on your card. We've then got a base of, oh sorry, that's the base. We've got a layer of basic white, and this is the one that we're going to emboss with the Stitched Greenery Die. We've then got a matte of Mossy Meadow, and this one is, oh sorry, I didn't give you the dimensions for this one. This one is 14.45 by 10.1 centimeters. That'll give us a nice 2mm border around the edge. Our Mossy Meadow piece is 10.5 by 7 centimeters. Our piece that we're going to stamp on, I have pre-die cut this with the rectangle, the stitched rectangle dies. Here they are here. So this is the stitched rectangle dies, and I have used the 1, 2, 3, oh hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th smallest, or if you're going from the largest, it's the 4th largest die. This is my most used one, and this one is actually starting to get a bit blunt because I have used it so many times. We used to use it for classes. I still use it a lot for classes now, even though my classes are online. I die cut everything ahead of time, so it gets a lot of use, and this one is starting to get a little bit blunt, so I might need to replace it soon. So I pre-die cut that ahead of time just to make sure that we didn't have any issues with die cutting that while I was on camera. But yeah, so that one's pre-done. Now this one measures 10.1 centimeters by 6.6, and this is thick Whisper White. Whenever you're working with Stampin' Blends, it's good to work with thick Whisper White because it has a better absorbency for the alcohol in the markers. Okay, and then we've got a little strip for our sentiment, which is 1/4 inch wide. Now, the reason that this is measured in inches and everything else is in centimeters is so that it will fit into our label punch. We're using the lovely Labels Pick a Punch today for our sentiment, just to punch one end of it. And each of these little measures here, or little guides, you've got 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch. It's just easier doing these in inches rather than centimeters because that's the way it was designed. So that just fits then well into the little track, so it gives a really nice guide. Okay, so we'll get to that down the track. Now I'm using for embellishing, I've got some of our beautiful, very vanilla, it's actually very vanilla, not white, so it's a little bit of a different color to the background, but not by much. And it is the scalloped lace trim, okay, which is really beautiful. And then lots of different options for your embellishing, but I thought that the champagne rhinestones, so obviously these are all packets that I've been using, as you can see, but I pulled all of these out so I had different options. I've got basic rhinestones, I've got basic pearls, I've got the elegant faceted gems, but I found what worked best. So if you've got any of those, they would work, but the champagne rhinestones, they go beautifully with the colors on the birds' chests. So that's what I decided to use in the end. Okay, so that's everything that we're using. So we will start. I'll put that card aside so we can get started. Now, the first thing we're going to do is to stamp our birds, because what we're going to do is we need to allow that ink time to dry before we try to start coloring that with our Stampin' Blends. Otherwise, it's going to bleed and look messy. We need it to dry. So we're going to start with our stamping first. All right, so I've got my large birds already mounted up. We're going to stamp in soft suede. Now, if you are stamping and coloring with your Stampin' Blends, you want to be using either our classic Stampin' pads, which are water-based, or you want to be using the Memento Tuxedo Black, okay, because that is also water-based. Because the Stampin' Blends are an alcohol-based, they need to be opposite to what your ink is that you're stamping in. Otherwise, they will just basically absorb, not absorb, what's the word? they'll smudge the image. All right, so soft suede we're using. Because this is a large stamp, I'm going to take my stamp pad to the stamp and just tap, tap, tap. I'm not pushing it hard into the image. I'm just tapping it along the surface. Okay, so we're just going to stamp this in the center there. There we go, and give a nice firm press all over that image. And it's a large image, so you want to make sure that you're giving firm pressure over the whole surface, but being careful not to rock your stamp. If you rock it, you'll get like shadowing and smudging of your stamp. So there we go. So there's our beautiful stamped image of our birds. Now while we're stamping, we might stamp our sentiment as well, so that will be ready to go for later. Then we can clean all of our stamps at the one time too. So we're using Cinnamon Cider for our sentiment. I'll pop this one to the side to dry. All right, and we're using that Happy Birthday, as I said, from the tulips. I'll bring in my sentiment, and I forgot to get out clean grid paper. I've got messy grid paper from what I was using before, but that's okay. We'll flip it over. We'll utilize our paper. Now, before I stamp my sentiment on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch. So I've got this long strip. This measures... Let me turn this over. This has got a centimetre measure on this side. So if I turn that over, I'll tell you how long this is. This is just a long strip. It's 13 centimetres long and it's the 1/2 inch wide. That was just a strip that I cut from scraps I had. So I'm going to first punch the end of that before I stamp on there. So I'm using the sort of scallopy end. So I'll feed that into that little track there. We'll feed that in, but then I'm going to flip my punch over so that I can make sure that my paper is lined up. I'm pushing it right up against the edge there of the punch, but I'm also looking to make sure that it looks like it's evenly punched in the center. So we'll just punch, and that punches out that little end piece. Whoops. Okay, and then now we've got our little scalloped end there on our sentiment label. Okay, now I'm going to have that scalloped piece on the right hand side, and then I'm just going to stamp my image, my sentiment I should say. So I'm going to stamp it close to the end, but I'm going to put an embellishment right at the tip there, so I don't want it right up against the end. I'll just bring it down a little bit closer to me so I don't have my head, hopefully not in camera. I'll see if I got that lined up straight. That's not too bad. Okay, so there we've got our Happy Birthday, and now what we can do is use our trimmer just to trim that off at the edge there. Oh, did I just put my fingers in that? Oh, nearly. That was close. All right, so now I'll give my stamps a clean. I'll just pop that to the side for a minute. We'll trim that down a little bit later. So always a good idea to clean your stamps straight away, especially with your photopolymer, because they do tend to hold the pigment in the ink and they can stain quite easily. So I like to stamp off any excess ink first on my grid paper or my scrap paper before taking it to my Simply Chamois, and that just, as you can see, your Simply Chamois will get stained. So it starts out nice and clean like that, or almost clean. There's a little bit of ink on there. But after you use it over and over, it will get stained, but that's okay. What you do is you just rinse it out under the water. That removes any excess ink, and then you're good to go. So even though there's a bit of staining, it still cleans your stamps beautifully. Okay, so just rinse it out every few days, depending on how often you're using it. Okay, so that is all the stamping done. Right, so now what we'll do is we will do the embossing of our ornate piece. We'll do that now. I'm going to bring in my large Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because this die is a big die. It will only fit through the big machine. It won't fit through the mini. So I'm sorry if you only had the mini. This die will not fit through there. All right, but we'll bring in the big machine. All right. So this plate on the bottom, as you can see, it's an older one, so it's got lots of cuts on it. It's starting to warp a little bit, but it's still usable. I did have to just replace the top plate today with another one that I had started to use, but it's not as warped, it's much newer. But the other one I was using was way too warped, and I was having trouble feeding things through. I'll just move this up where you can see it. There we go. All right, oops. So for this die, it's just like any of our other dies. So we've got our number 1 base plate for our machine. We've got our number 2 plate adapter. We've got number 3 clear plate, which mine is a bit warped, as I said. So then we're going to put our cardstock down. Our die is going to go on top of the cardstock, so we're turning that with the detail side down over the cardstock. There we go. And then another number 3 plate on top. Now, before I do that, just to show you, because this has got a straight edge, when it's feeding through the rollers, sometimes it can cause a bit of a speed bump. To alleviate that, it's good to put your card at a little bit, or your die at a little bit of an angle. Now, because of the design of this one, this is sort of a filigree design. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be lined up exactly, you know, straight to the cardstock sort of thing. So I can put that at a little bit of an angle, and that will help it feed through the machine much easier. Then our number 3 plate over the top, just making sure that your corners of your plate are not too close to the edge. I'll just tip that just a little bit more back in. There we go. I think I had that a little bit close to the edge. All right, and then we just take that through our machine. Make sure that's all lined up straight. There we go. I'm going to stand up for this so that I can crank it through, because I'm doing that with my opposite hand. Sorry, it's moving a bit on the desk because I'm doing it sideways rather than from in front. I'm just going to switch hands. So it is a little bit tight, this one, because it's impressing a lot of detail, and it's one big piece of metal basically. So there we go. Ooh. Okay. So now when we take that out, that's what we get. Isn't that beautiful? Now, as I said at the beginning, most people, when they use this, because of the way the die is designed to impress the detail into the cardstock, most people would probably use it that way, with the detail, with the textured side on the underneath, and that's how they'd use it, so that it's smooth on top. But today, because I want the ornate look, I'm flipping it over and I'm using the detailed side face up, because I want it to look like those pinpricks like I told you about with the ornate technique. Okay, so there we go. All right. Okay, so we've got that piece ready to go. Now, we can put all of these pieces to the side and we'll do our colouring. I am just going to grab a clean piece. Oh, actually, no, I'll use the same piece of paper. We won't waste our paper. We'll use our paper and we'll do our colouring. So when you are, actually I don't need that under there. Why did I put that there? I don't need that. When you are colouring with Stampin' Blends, it's always a good idea to have something to protect your surface. So some scrap paper, grid paper, something like that. So that as the Stampin' Blends absorb into the cardstock, they don't bleed through to the other side onto your desk. So, sorry, I've missed a couple of comments here. Let me see. Oh, Angie's here. Hi, Angie. How you going? No worries. Feel free to go back and watch the beginning part, Angie, because I took everyone on a trip back in time, back to 2004, and I shared a little bit about some old techniques from 2004, which is what has inspired my project today. So feel free to go back and watch that. Angie said, I softly blend the background, then stamp the birds. Ah, that's a great idea too. Yes, you could use your blending brushes. Could use your blending brushes to blend the background first and then stamp the birds. That's a great idea. I didn't think to do that today. We're going to be colouring the background with our Stampin' Blends today, but that is another option. All right, so the colours that we're using today are, well, I'll tell you them as we go through. We're going to start with colouring the branch, and the branch I'm colouring in dark Crumb Cake. I'm going to use the fine tip. So with our Stampin' Blends, we have a brush tip, which is great for the larger areas, and we also have a fine bullet tip. So I'm going to be using also to the cap's nest, which is really good so you never lose your cap when you're colouring. So I'm going to use the bullet tip a lot today because we're going to be colouring a lot of smaller details. Oh, I need to put my glasses on. Hang on, let me just do that. There we go. Okay. So we'll just do this one. So tell me, had anybody actually seen ornere before, the ornere technique? Has anyone done that in the past? You don't really see it much these days, but anyone that's been around stamping as long as I have probably has seen it. There we go. All right, so we're using dark Granny Apple Green for our leaves. I'm not really doing any blending on these parts. You can if you want to, but I didn't want to sort of fuss too much with that today. Just turn this a little bit, make it easier for me to colour. And the leaves are sort of so tiny anyway that they look great just coloured in a single colour. We are going to do some different colours on the birds, however, and we'll do a little bit of blending with the birds, just not with the branch or the leaves or the flowers. Actually, on my original one, I did blend a couple of different colours with the flowers because I wasn't happy with the first colour that I used, and so then I went over it with a different colour. But I didn't really do proper blending with it though. When you're colouring with the bullet tip, you hardly even need to touch the tip to the surface of the cardstock to get the colour to come onto the cardstock, which I love. It's so good. But yeah, you just need a really light hand. All right, for the little flowers, we're using light Daffodil, or Daffodil Delight, sorry. I originally, on my first one, I used So Saffron, but because once I finished colouring the birds and they were so vibrant, and then I did the background, the flowers just looked so pale in comparison. So I decided to go to a deeper colour. There we go. So nice and easy. All right. I showed it to you. What did I show you, Judy? Ornere? I showed you ornere back in the day? Probably did. All right, so now what we're going to use for the birds is, so we're going to do light Smoky Slate for their beaks. And you only need to just basically touch very lightly because their beaks are so tiny. I'm just dabbing this ink onto their beaks. There we go. That's all they needed for their little beaks. And now for the birds, I'm using light Night of Navy, light Cinnamon Cider, and Ivory. So we're going to start with their chests first, or I'm going to do one bird at a time actually. So I'm going to start with the chest, and I'm going to use the brush tip this time. So these little blue birds, they have a brownie coloured chest, then under their tail is lighter, and then they have a blue face and blue wings. So that's kind of what the look I'm going for. So now we'll move to the ivory, and I'm going to start down here with the ivory and work that up towards the cinnamon cider. Then I'm going to blend that a little bit on the edges so the edge of that cinnamon cider isn't harsh. And I'm going to take a little bit of this up into the cinnamon cider. There we go. So that just softens the edge there of the, see where the two colours meet? That just softens that a little bit. Now he's going to have, I'm going to go to the bullet tip. Oh, this one hasn't been used very much, obviously, because the cap is very tight, which is good. It stops it from evaporating. So he's going to have a blue tail, blue wings, and a blue face. So again, just going really lightly. Now, at first, this is going to look really dark, and you're going to think, oh my goodness, you've just covered up his eye. But no, it will lighten up a little bit and you'll be able to see the detail on him or her. There we go. Okay, so that's our first little bird done. Move over to the next little one. I didn't call it that, I called it pin pricking. Oh, okay. So the actual name for the original technique is ornere. I actually still have a folder of all my ornere stuff, which is labelled as ornere. I probably called it pin pricking because it's easier than ornere, because people say, what's ornere? Yeah, it's a technique that you don't see much of nowadays, which is a shame because it's beautiful. But I love that this die gives a similar effect. A little bit different, but similar. The die that we're using today. Okay, so we'll blend that light colour up again and then go up into the chest area. Oops, I missed a little bit just here. Okay, little blue head and face for this one. Aren't they just so cute, these little birds? And you know what? I love that the design of these birds, Stampin' Up are very clever. I love that you can turn them into lots of different types of birds. So you could choose all different sorts of colours for colouring the birds and they would still look great. So go back to our cinnamon cider again for our next little one. There we go, and our ivory. Okay, so then we're just going to get to the edge of that cinnamon, blend that up a little bit to soften it, and then take that colour over the top of the cinnamon to blend that in. Now, while that is wet, of course, that's going to look a little bit different. It's going to look a bit darker. And you'll see with the first one, it's starting to, if I hold that up to the camera, you see that first one, it's starting to dry now. And see how that blue has become lighter, and you can see the detail now on the bird. See, do they look great? There we go. All right. So we'll keep working with this. Oh, I've got a little bit of something on the tip. There we go, a little bit of a fibre or something was on the tip, and I thought, oh, I better remove that, otherwise we'll end up with blue ink in places we don't want it. And because it's such a dark colour, we wouldn't want that. There we go. Now with the Stampin' Blends too, the more you go over the colour, the deeper the colour will be. So just be mindful of that if you are going back over any sections at all. It will become darker. Okay, last little bird. They're really great to work with, these Stampin' Blends. They don't really take much time. They're really easy to work with, to blend with. And yeah, they're so easy. And I love that each colour comes with a light and a dark. Now with the ivory, there's not a dark ivory. The dark colour that comes with the ivory is actually called bronze. So you have the ivory and the bronze. and they can actually be really good for skin tones as well. Okay, and some blue for the wings. And up into the face there and the head. There we go, might just bring that down a little bit. Great, there we go. So there we've got our beautiful birds. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to colour the background with light Balmy Blue. So because I'm colouring a large area, and I may go back over certain sections and things like that, it's kind of going to give almost like a watercoloured effect in the background. Now, as Angie suggested too, you could use your Stampin' Blends and, your blending brushes with your inks and do the background before you stamp. That's a great way of doing it. But today I'm going to do it with a blend. So there's a couple of different options there for you. You can do it whichever way you like, depending on which way you like to colour. But yeah, so this is the light Balmy Blue. So it is going to be quite a dark sky. But if you look up at the sky can be quite blue at times, and it's never uniform in colour either. So I actually don't mind this effect with the Stampin' Blends. So I like to do a circular motion when I'm colouring with the Stampin' Blends. Now this will look really dark to begin with, as I said, and it might look a little bit streaky to begin with, but it'll smooth out and lighten up as it dries. Now my Balmy Blue ink, I've just put it on my wish list or my shopping list for buying a new one, because the tip of this light colour, this one's being used a fair bit, so it's getting a little bit shaggy. So it actually makes it a little bit more uneven, because the ink isn't sort of going all the way to the tip smoothly, because it's gotten so shaggy with all the use it's had. Goes to show that it's one of my most used colours. So I find that when you do a circular motion, for me, I find that I get a smoother finish. And what I did with my first one is I actually went a little bit too dark in one section, and that's where I decided to put my sentiment. So you can't even tell. So yeah, there's always ways to, if you're not happy with the finish of something, you can always hide it either with an embellishment or with a sentiment or something like that. So never panic if you if it doesn't turn out exactly how you wanted it. So you'll see that bottom part now where I have coloured is starting to dry out a little bit, but see how you've still got some darker patches where it's wet and you've got some lighter patches, but it's kind of going to look like, when it's finished, it's going to look a little bit like the sky, so the different colours that you get in the sky. So have to be really careful going around your pieces that you've already coloured, because you don't want those colours to blend together. So you go up to the edge, but don't go right over the edge, because you don't want that. You don't want to draw any of that green or any of those dark colours into your sky. And being careful around the dark blue as well. Just going just to the edge, being very careful there. I'm going to turn it upside down actually to get in between these little birds. Makes it a bit easier to do it that way. Now, of course, if you use wider strokes or try and colour in larger areas rather than, and then try and do small areas, you might get some different color variation, not color variations, but depth of color. Because obviously, you know, if you're coloring a smaller section at a time, you're laying down more ink at one time rather than trying to do large strokes and covering a large surface. So just going really carefully around this little bird. There we go. So yeah, so this card was actually inspired by those cards that I made back in 2004 when I did Ornaire. And as I was saying earlier, I've got a creative challenge for my team this month, all about where their creative inspiration comes from. Some of us are creatively inspired by nature. Some of us are creatively inspired by, we might see a beautiful sunset, or might be inspired by the ocean. I often get inspired by fabric. If I'm out somewhere and I see a really nice fabric or a nice cushion, I'll take a photo of it and think, oh wow, either I love the colors in it or the design or the florals or something like that. And so I take photos of them to use as creative inspiration for my projects. So lots of my projects have actually been inspired by fabrics that I've seen out and about. Yeah, all different sorts of things. Maybe your pets inspire you, or your children, or your children's toys, or colors that you see, or yeah. So anyway, so I designed a challenge around that. This one was a different type of inspiration. This is from an inspiration from a previous technique that I knew of and cards that I had made back in the day. Long time ago. So there we go. So you can see now that's still a bit wet at the top, but you can kind of see what I mean by a little bit of a watercolor effect with the blends there in the background. So it's not completely smooth finish because I've laid down the color a bit heavier in areas, gone back over different areas, but it kind of gives like a watercolor look in the background. Now you'll see that that ink has absorbed beautifully into the cardstock, but this is why I always say that you should protect your surface when you're coloring, just so that your ink doesn't go down onto your desk or your work surface, because they will stain. Okay, so there we go. So we'll let that just dry for a little minute. We'll pop that over to the side while that dries, and we can start putting together our pieces for our card. So we're going to pop down our, I'm going to call this the Ornaire piece, even though it's not real Ornaire, but it's the Ornaire look. We're going to pop this piece down first. I want the textured side up, so it looks like it's been pierced from the other side through to the front. So I'm going to flip that over, and I'll pop my adhesive down on there. Now this one is about to run out, so we'll see how we go. And I've ordered refills for this, but they haven't arrived yet. So, oh yep, there we go, we hit the end. I knew I was going to hit the end while I was filming. That's okay. I've got my Stampin' Seal as well, which isn't quite as strong, but it's still pretty strong. It's still pretty sticky. So we'll use that. I would not recommend using liquid glue with this particular piece because of all of the impressions in the design. The liquid glue is likely to seep through the little holes that it creates. So if you use a dry, either one of the Stampin' Seals, Stampin' Seal, Stampin' Seal Plus, or you could use the tear and tape. They would be the better ones to use for this one. Okay, there we go. So now I can feel that beautiful texture on the front. So see, isn't that gorgeous? You can kind of see the blue a little bit coming through, although the camera might not pick that up, but you can kind of see the blue a little bit coming through those little stitched lines there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to adhere this piece. Now this might not be completely dry. Normally I would let this fully dry before I adhere that to my mat, but we don't have time to do that today. So I'm going to adhere that down now to my Mossy Meadow matte layer. It's a good idea to let it fully dry though. Okay. And that mossy meadow goes beautifully with those leaves, even though I used a different color with the leaves. Oops, I don't think I got that straight then. Oh, it's a little bit off, but it's okay. We can work with that. Okay. Yeah, so even though the leaves are a little bit of a brighter color, I just think that mossy meadow looks really great. All right, so we're going to pop this one up onto dimensionals. So you might like to look up ornate, Google it, and see what you find online, see if there's any patterns around these days for ornate. And as I said, you can use your Stampin' Pierce, you need to use your Stampin' Pierce mat, but your piercing tool from your Take Your Pick tool. But remember not to push your tool all the way through. You just want to push the very tip of it through the cardstock if you're creating like proper ornate using a pattern, because you only want a fine little pinprick hole. You can also use a tapestry needle, but obviously a tapestry needle, your hands might get sore trying to hold it because it's a very fine, you know, needle to try and hold, and there's a lot of piercing. Can you imagine if you were piercing all of those holes like that in a design like that using a tapestry needle? You'd have very sore hands, so it's good to have something with a nice sturdy handle. Okay, so there is the basis for our piece. Now let's bring in our sentiment. I'm just going to trim the end of this on my trimmer. So I'll bring that in. And I'm just going to put it down the bottom of my trimmer. It might be off camera here, but I'm sort of running out of room to fit everything. There we go. So just trim that straight there at the edge. Now what I'm going to do, because I want to give a little bit of a border around, oh, I didn't actually stamp that very well, did I? I didn't stamp that very straight. That's okay. We can deal with that. I'm going to give that a little bit of a border. So I'm going to use my Ivory pen, my Ivory Stampin' Blend. I'm going to take the bullet tip, I'm going to hold it on the side. I'm just going to very carefully run that along the edges of my sentiment label, and that'll just give like a little border, just so it's not stark white, and it will help it to match in with the rest of the colors in the project. So just doing that very carefully. You could also dab this in your ink pad, or you can use a dauber with your ink to run along the edges, but I just thought because we were using our blends today, I'll just use my blends to do this. So I'm just stopping talking for a minute while I concentrate so I don't slip. It's a bit delicate. There we go. Okay, there we go. So now we've got a nice little border just around those edges. Make sure we've got that one. There we go. Good. Okay. So we're going to pop this one up on dimensionals as well. We're going to use some mini dimensionals. Tina Marie says the background looks like an abstract watercolor. Yeah, that's what I was going for. So I'm glad that that's sort of come through looking like that. So that's good. Good, good, good. Julie said this could be another card inspiration for our group card challenge. Yes, I might put this one in there, Julie, in our team creative challenge. And I'll put a photo of one of my original cards in there as well, so everybody can see what my inspiration was. All right, so I'm going to line this one up. I might have to put this one up a little bit higher. I think I've stamped my birdies just a little bit higher. Just inside that stitched line there at the top, that stitched border. Yeah, these ones are sitting up a little bit higher than my original one, but that's okay. And let's make a bow with our beautiful scalloped ribbon. Thankfully, I've got another new roll of this because this one is nearly empty. I love this scalloped ribbon. It's so pretty. It's It's, well, I don't know that it's called ribbon. It's lace trim, I think, isn't it? Yeah, lace trim. Because it's not really ribbon, it's lace. I'll just get that tied into a nice bow. Because this one is lace, you might just need to work that bow a little bit to get that sitting nicely. And what I did on the other one too is I actually twisted this part of the bow over so that I had the scallop going the same way on the tails, and I hid that at the back. There we go. Just need to pull that a bit tighter to hold that. There, that's not too bad. All right, so we'll trim that. Oh, dropping everything now. There we go. That side's a bit longer. Always takes me a few goes to get my bow tails the right length. Okay, there we go. And we're going to use a glue dot to hold that onto our card. So these are our mini glue dots. And with the new mini glue dots, I opened up a new box on the weekend, and normally the glue dots that we used to get were on the roll, and it made it really easy to press our ribbon straight onto the roll. But now I notice that they're rolled in the opposite direction, I think, and the glue dot is actually on the strip that you open. So you can lay it down on your desk and press it onto your desk like that, and then that'll come straight off. Okay, and then we're going to pop our bow down here on the bottom corner, like so. There we go. And then we'll get our rhinestones, our champagne rhinestones. These go beautifully with the birds. So we'll open those up. And I'm just going to use the small ones. So I'll pop those ones to the side. I'm going to use the really little ones. So I'm going to pop one there on my sentiment to bling up my sentiment. Love a bit of bling on my sentiment. And we'll pop one down here. And I'll put one up here. So just pop them in different spaces. I stamped this one up a little bit higher than my original one, so just to sort of fill in that bit of space. That's one way that you can fill in a bit of space, is just add some sentiments. So there we go. So there is my beautiful Ornate inspired card using the Free as a Bird stamp set. So I hope that you really liked that one. What do you think? All right. So yeah, if you have any questions about that the original Ornate technique too, feel free to ask me. As I said, I haven't done it in many years, but I still do remember how to, and I've got all my old patterns still. I need to bring them back out, don't I? But Stampin' Up has made it really easy for us, and given us this beautiful Stitched Greenery die, which gives the same sort of effect. So if you don't already have this one, look out for this one, the Stitched Greenery die. It's a really beautiful one for your backgrounds. Oh, thank you, Angela. I'm glad you like it. Thanks so much. All right, so what I'm going to do is I will cover up the camera and I'll flip back up so that I can see, or you can see me, and I can say goodbye to you face to face. Now, before I do that, remember that if you are wanting any of these products today, they are available in my online store. You can find that on my blog. Go to mandyspapercraftcreations.blogspot.com. Click on the shop button at the top, and remember to use my host code so that I can send you a thank you gift when you're ordering over $50. All right, let me cover up the camera and I'll flip that up to my face so that I can say goodbye to you properly. I like to always say goodbye face to face. Just one moment and I will adjust my camera. Okay, and oh, I better flip the cameras or we'll be upside down and back to front. There we go. Wouldn't be the first time I've done that. Done that before, been on the roof, been on the floor. Adjust my lighting. There we go. All right. So there's my card. Isn't it pretty? I really love it. And I think the even though that's quite blue, sometimes our sky is really quite blue, isn't it? But it just gives that beautiful watercolor look in the background. So yeah, so there you go. Oh, thank you, Renee. I'm glad you liked it. Tina Marie says absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And Judy said that's a whole lot easier than pin pricking at all. Yes, love the effect. Yes, Stampin' Up did a great job with that die. I hope that they bring out some more designs in it. Actually, I might put that in the product sandbox. As demonstrators, we have what they call a product sandbox with Stampin' Up, and we can put all of our ideas in there for new product or ideas that we have for different product that we'd like to see. I might actually put something in the sandbox about having some more detailed dies like this that we can do, like the ornate look backgrounds. That would be awesome. I might do that this afternoon. Deborah says, nice card. Thanks, Deborah. Oh, and Judy was watching me on her 70-inch TV. Really good to watch on the 70-inch TV. Oh, awesome, Judy. Thank you. I'm live. I've never been on TV before. Oh, yes, I have. I have actually been on TV once before. I was in an interview many, many years ago when my son was little on A Current Affair. Many years ago when he was he was recovering from an illness, and we got interviewed. So that's my claim to fame. That's the only one I have. Well, I hope you all have a great week. Now remember that we are now in daylight savings time here in New South Wales and the eastern part of the country. Some states here in Australia don't have daylight savings, but we do here where I am. So we are on Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So that's AEDT. If you are looking to catch me live, I'll be back live on Thursday at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So if you're available, I'd love to see you then. We do quick and easy cards on Thursdays. So come along and see what I've got in store for you this week. Otherwise, I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again next Monday. So, oh, Judy said, don't forget the idea of the glitter paper as a catalogue staple. Don't forget the idea of that glitter paper as a catalogue staple. Which glitter paper, Judy? Was that the one I used on the sheep card? The, oh, the idea to go in the idea sandbox? You'll have to enlighten me. I can't remember which. You told me not to forget. I think I've already forgotten of the idea. The glitter paper as a catalogue staple. Oh, yes, I know what you meant. The bedazzled paper. The bedazzling paper from Celebration. Yes, I was going to put that in the product sandbox. We talked about that at my event on Saturday. Yes, I'm writing it down right now. Product sandbox. Product sandbox. We want that paper in the annual catalogue because it is beautiful. Bedazzling. Yep. And ornate type frame dies. Ornate type frame dies. Yes. Written it down. It's on my little notepad. I'll do that this afternoon so that I don't forget again. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me, Judy. Great. Yes, we want some more of that bedazzling paper. That was gorgeous. We want more and more and more of that. And we want that to stick around forever. All right. Have a great week, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a go of the ornate. I'd love to. And if you do, send me a photo. Private message me and send me a photo. I'd love to see what you create. Have a great afternoon, evening, night, morning, wherever you are. Happy crafting, everyone. Bye.